Are we rolling? Are we going? Hi. Welcome to the BLUEY Freaks, my new podcast series. Hopefully, if I don't abandon it, because I tend to abandon myself a lot. But this is where I will be yapping about my current and always hyperfixations and obsessions. And a little backstory about me and podcasts, I guess. I've been listening to podcasts for like quite a lot of years now. I guess since 2021, that's when I actually started listening to podcasts, because before that I just kind of watched stuff and never really set the time to listen to podcasts. But after listening to podcasts, I've always thought I wanted to do that because I have so much stuff to yap about. But I never actually got to do it because I always thought that it needs to be some sort of professionalism should be there to be good quality, I guess. And also, I just didn't really know how to start. But then there's this TikToker that I follow who makes Shira TikToks that she started to make podcasts, and it really inspired me. And so that's why I'm here, because months later after her podcast, I finally start on the script, which is right here. So if I glance here, I'm looking at the script. But I'm finally starting a podcast, and it's all because of her, basically. And it's just me yapping about my hyperfixations, obsessions, favorite things. Mostly the music freaks, as the title of the podcast suggests, the BLUEY Freaks. The BLUEY Freaks is just my nickname, Bluey, and the music freaks just mixed together. But also, do we like the fit? It's Haley from the music freaks. Spoilers for the character, but if you know me, any ounce of me, you will know I love Haley. She's my number one. Also, this jacket is kind of short now. It's supposed to be longer, but it used to be longer, but I guess I grown. Anyways, that's besides the point. This is my Haley DIY, I guess, cosplay. I have her hair that's faded. This is her main look throughout the series. We have her signature jacket, and then the closest heart shirt I could find. The heart is really big. It's supposed to be this small. And then I also have the rest of her that I'm not gonna show. Anyways, enough about me. Let's actually start on the topic of today's topic, basically. A little introduction to the music freaks, or TMF. I'm probably going to call either one. This series is created by Rosie Closey, an icon in the gacha community. So if you were in the gacha community years ago, or sort of heard about it, you probably know Rosie. She's, if I recall, the most popular gacha YouTuber out there. Anyways, taken from the description of TMF's trailer, TMF is a voice actor gacha live / gacha club musical series that includes voice acting as well as copyright-free songs for vocals and singing. The series generally centers around themes like friendship, drama, passion, and romance. Okay, so here I'm gonna talk a bit backstory about TMF, but correct me if I'm wrong, because I cannot find the source of this no matter how hard I try. But I remember back then Rosie wanted to make new content, and she put out a community poll on YouTube asking her subscribers at the time to choose for the new content that they want to see from her, and they chose a voice acted series, which is what led to the Music Freaks today. Obviously we have musical elements now added to the voice acted series. Okay, sorry. Anyways, let's talk episode 1. So the summary goes as follows. Jake has always dreamed of being a singer, and he's a pretty good one. But in order to fit in with his mean-spirited friends, he partakes in picking on the music club members, all the while secretly yearning for an escape to be himself and sing to his heart's content. But when the music club announces that it will be taking part in a school band competition, will Jake muster up the courage to audition? So, what happens in episode 1? I definitely won't be finish talking about the whole series of the whole season 1. Excuse me, the whole season 1 in this episode, because that would take quite literally 30 plus hours for me to hyperanalyze. That is if I just go on rambles with no script. But I'm gonna try to structure this as neatly as possible and keep it as concise yet detailed, you know. But I'm kinda dumb and kinda messy, so it's a bit hard. So I also apologize for that. So what happens in episode 1? We see Jake on stage, seemingly about to perform a solo performance, and he is announcing to everyone in the crowd that the song he is about to sing goes to a special someone. So then we see this girl with pretty white hair, amazing blue eyes, blushing and proud. And Jake is about to start his performance until he gets woken up by his alarm for school. That whole thing before that was a dream. So looking into the scene, we see that Jake loves to perform, specifically singing, and that he's passionate and he has a special someone he wants to perform to. Could it be a crush or a partner? We'll find out. Just kidding, it's a crush. Assuming you've watched or know some amount of TMF, you already know that the girl is Jake's crush. And after hearing his alarm, Jake sighs and goes another school day, which insists that he dislikes the thought of school and going to school. And this could be 2 reasons. I'm gonna look into it. Possibly, the first reason is possibly because of school itself. You know, school sucks sometimes. But it could also be about his friends from the description that we see, which the fandom tend to either call the Dromies or the Jomies. It's basically the Jake's friend group's nickname, to just like refer to all of them, because there's quite a few characters and sometimes we are lazy to type all of their names. But anyways, I'm not going to spoil too much yet, but you will see from the description, so I'm going to view this as you're just starting to watch the Music Freaks episode 1 and you just read the description. What do you know? From that, we could also imply that he dislikes school because of his friends who are mean-spirited, and since Jake himself joins those friends to bully and pick on the music club members, we know that he actually yearns for the stage and for singing and showing his true passion to the world, but obviously something is holding him back. and it could be his friends, and it could also be the reason that his friends could also be the reason that why he dislikes going to school or dreads it at the very least. So this topic of his friendship with Jake and his friends is practically the main storyline for this show, and it goes even deeper throughout the show, especially in the finale and the final episodes. And I really want to talk about it because it's the main drama, okay? But I'm not going to spoil too much of the other episodes in today's podcast episode, because then it will be out of order. So I am just going to go by episode and maybe sprinkle in some Easter eggs from future episodes in each of them. So I'm going to yap about a bit about the theme song and the meaning behind it, and I'm pretty sure that it's not what the song is intended to convey, because the song is copyrighted free song. So Rosie just took songs she found on the internet that were copyright free and put them into the series. So it's definitely not written for the Music Freaks, and obviously we do know that there are Music Freak original songs, but it's not the theme song, basically. But I do think that the song that are taken and put in to the series are quite symbolic and really do convey the message of the characters and their feelings. And so I'm gonna look into this theme song a bit and hyperanalyze it, because I'm just that geeky and obsessed, and apparently I have nothing to do. So the theme song Tonight, is called Tonight, is written by, okay, I'm gonna butcher this pronunciation, but it's written by Lundh, Lundh, and sung by John Becker. The lyrics, I'll go over it and talk about how each line is sort of relates to the series and the characters and the scenes a bit. So the first line, also this is just a shortened version of the song that's in the show. The full version I won't be covering because it's technically not really part of the show. I'm basing this off of the fandom wiki of TMF, and most of the songs are actually cut to fit the length of each episode. So I'll just be talking about the cut version. But anyways, the first line, come on, tell me all the things we couldn't see, all those moments we keep going on to feel complete. This makes more sense knowing what happens in the finale / episode 11, but we can see it as Jake asking his friends, the Dromies, to tell him about the things that they couldn't see between each other and to try to understand that about each other. Obviously, the Dromies disapprove of his singing and passion in singing. So when he, spoilers, joined the music club and shows his true colors, the Dromies don't really want to understand him in that light. But Jake does. Jake wants to understand what the Dromies doesn't want to understand and what's going on between them. And though they are friends, this passion of Jake is still hidden inside him, and the moments spent with the Dromies seems like they are just there for the friendship to feel complete, even though in the inside it's pretty cracked and there's actually a lot of miscommunication and just not just them not understanding each other, because they don't give that leeway for Jake to really show himself, because they put down those like concrete thoughts. The drummies put down those concrete thoughts and opinions about music, and this is going to spoiler zone, but they basically disapprove of music itself and sort of put down those thoughts and built up this whole, I'd say, community, I guess, of hating on music. But Jake loves music, but he wants to be part of the community and be part of that friend group. So he sort of has to hide himself. But that line could also go the other way, where in the point of view of the dromies, where they view Jake as not showing them the true him, the true him that the dromies could not see because he never shares about it. And so everything that they ever had, all the fake, I'd say fake friendship times that they ever had, it's just there to fill in the blanks, to act like they are friends. That's how I see it. Obviously, this could be interpreted different ways, because, well, it's not really concrete, because obviously, like I said, this song isn't made for the music freaks, but this is how I see it. These are all my opinions. Next line, come on, tell me all the lies I should have seen. This could go both ways too, where the dromies finally realize the lies that Jake told to keep his secret passion, and it should have been clear from the start, at least the start from the series, that he actually likes music and enjoys singing. But also, as well, for Jake's point of view, it's I guess a bit more deeper and internalized to himself, where the lies actually come from Jake to Jake. Jake is not just lying to the dromies, but to himself too, at times, for being a bad person to the music club members and for supporting the dromies in their bullying, and he's basically not being himself to himself. It can go two ways, basically. Next line, it's all over and was all a world of make-believe, which basically supports what I just mentioned, where Jake built this whole world of make-believe for his friends and even himself and the music club members, where he hates music to where he shows that he hates music to the dromies, and he's lying about, this is very spoilery, he's lying to himself that music club and the dromies can sort of live in peace together, and also to the music club members about things about the dromies and stuff. It makes more sense if you watch the whole thing. If it does not make sense when I say it, I apologize. I'm not good at talking. I just talk. Anyways, next line. I gotta need to open up my mind. This kind of love is all. Wait, what? This kind of love, it all just got us blind. The memories we know, we gotta save them. So just tell me that you won't be here tonight. Okay, this one's a bit long, according to my script. Because of this sort of connection and the relationship between Jake and Dromies, it sort of blinded Jake and the Dromies in where they don't see the real Jake and they don't know the real Jake, and that memory is just part of who he is, and it may just even be a fake part of him. And now Jake needs to clear his head out and sort of, well, like the lyrics say, open up his mind to really see what's going on between the Dromies and him. And this is the most iconic line of the song. Just tell me that you won't be here tonight. And this line keeps throwing me off because I struggle to understand it. But what I think it is I interpret it as Jake begging the Dromies to not show up that night. That night, referring to him singing on stage. Okay, this is very spoilery. Oh my god. Singing on stage so that he can clear his mind. That's basically what I interpreted. It really just makes more sense once you've watched the whole thing and then hyperanalyze it. But I'm trying my best here. Obviously, it's not like Rosie had any like control over the lyrics because she's not the songwriter. But this is how I see it. Anyways, okay. The next part is a bit long, the next paragraph of lyrics. So, should we slow down on our playground? Should we take a step or two, start all over, forget all the past and start anew? We should move on. Should we move on? Should I stay strong, or should I give us one last chance? My mind is trapped now. Don't know how we can solve this. Maybe it's too late. The main bit, I think, is the last part, where it's sort of symbolic to how Jake feels about him and the Dromies, and that they could have one last chance to everything, their friendship and the past. But everything is also so built up with lies and the fake world that Jake built up, that it's also probably too late. Now, this part hits way more in the finale, and you really can see it. The symbolicness is that a word? Don't know. But I'm putting this in the first episode alongside with talking about the first episode of TMF because I do not know where else to put it. It's just me being frank. I do not know where else to put it. But anyways, we then see Jake. Okay, back to the episode. We see Jake joining the Dromies outside of the school with we see Jake join the Dromies outside of the school, where Liam and Henry, two members of the Dromies, are discussing about Stacy's mom. And this is kind of a running gag in the TMF community. To put it frankly, Henry and Liam are technically, like you could say, the clowns of the group, and they really just try to keep the atmosphere fun, lighthearted, though they do a bit of a bad job at it, but that's their purpose, basically. But this running gag about Stacy's mom is just Liam has a thing for Stacy's mom, which we actually see Stacy's mom in the finale. At the end of the finale, spoilers again, and we actually see why he is so into it, but it's that's not something we're gonna touch on. Come back, script, come back. Anyways, the actual main point of this scene is Drew shares that his parents bought him a new console and that he is inviting Jake to go and play with him on his ultra wide monitors. Now this shows that Drew's parents sort of spoil him a bit, even though he did say it's for his birthday. But we also see Jake acknowledge that saying that it must be nice having rich parents. So though this richness of Drew is something that we, or at least I, brushed off at first when watching, it's actually a bit more important, especially in later episodes, which is, I keep saying it's important for later episodes. It really is. I mean, the first episode is just building the grounds of this world of TMF. So then we finally meet the same girl from Jake's dream, Daisy, and she passes by the dromies saying good morning to them, and Jake immediately gets flustered and struggles to form a coherent greeting to Daisy as she walks past. Pretty standardized, I guess. Main character has a crush, and when they see the crush, they get flustered. It's pretty normal. But this scene does confirm that Jake's crush is the girl from his dreams, Daisy. And the scene after it is what I want to actually focus on, is that when Daisy walks past, after Daisy walks past, Drew, Liam, and Henry, which is the dromies, they sort of make fun of Jake, and Liam even saying he'll ask Jake out. Wait, what? He'll ask Daisy out if Jake doesn't do it first. And this shows that, like, okay, we know that Jake has a crush and that he's struggling to sort of ask Daisy out. And instead of being supportive or like encouraging or comforting even, the dromies just poke fun at him, which it could just seem like friendly banter, but I see it going deeper than that, where the dromies are essentially verbally bullying Jake. Now obviously it could just be friendly banter, as I said, but I'm not someone who has many friends or even a friend group, so I'm just speaking from observation. But I don't think friends necessarily make fun of people or make fun of their friends in matters that are as serious as asking someone on a date. You know, it's not a truth or dare kind of thing, you know. So I do see them as sort of verbally abusing each other, bullying each other, but I also don't think it's intentional. I think they just think it's friendly banter, when in reality it actually does hurt Jake's feelings. And it's not just this one scene, it's multiple scenes in most episodes where they have screen time with each other. So giving an example is where when Jake ditches his friends, the dromies, Drew sort of acts annoyed and like sort of aggressive-ish, meanish to Liam and Henry, and so it's not just towards Jake. It's honestly all of them towards all of them. They're all bad friends, basically. And as well as, well, another example I guess is Liam and Henry not lying to Jake. Not Jake. Lying to Drew. So many names. Lying to Drew about something that will become important later and is actually very plot relevant, but I won't spoil it yet because it's a big deal. I won't spoil it yet. Hey, next, moving on, we meet the actual star of the show, the one and only Haley Austin, and of course Xander, who walks past the Jomies to school, and we get to know a bit more of this rivalry between the Jomies and the music club members. So obviously they bicker and call each other names, but there's a line that's like kind of a bit controversial. Jake calls Haley a princess and she blushes. Now, in itself, it seems weird, and definitely was when we all first watched it. Like, why would Haley blush when her bully is sort of bullying, flirting towards her? It's like the flirting, but in a bullying manner, basically. But it's weird because Haley blushes, and it's gotten a bit of talk in the community, and people sort of hate on Haley because of it, which we then get more sort of backstory about that nickname in a extra comic episode that's released after season 1 was finished, and I'll talk about that episode later in the end, but we'll just keep it in mind. Anyways, back to the episode. Haley and Xander leave the bullies to school after their little bickering, scene, and Jake then thinks to himself, little does she know that I probably have more singing ability than she does. And we get to see how confident he is with his singing ability, and that he isn't and that he isn't just like in mind wanting to sing. He's actually pretty good at it, and he's confident with his abilities. It's just that he isn't welcome to sing or show his passion in front of the Dromies, which is a constant internal conflict of his, and it's just like he's sort of balancing between being confident with his singing ability, yet not being able to show it to his friends. And okay, you're probably wondering why can't he just talk about it to his friends or show it to them? Well, okay, this thing again it'll make sense more in later episodes. But the thing is he's scared to lose them. Now this is definitely very spoilery and sort of the main plot of the future episodes, but I'll try to make it short. We see how the Dromies acted when Haley and Xander do so much so as just walk past them to get to school. They immediately pick on them, which, albeit Jake does most of the talking and is quite frankly a jerk, calling them the music freaks and such. But it also technically only started with Drew. Drew was the one who called them over and gave the attention to them, steered the attention away from Jake's crush to the music club members. But anyways, Jake is essentially scared that if he shows so much so as to show his true colors, he will be picked on as well. And obviously this is coming from someone who watched all the episodes and seen his backstory without spoiling too much. It's pretty much his fear of being bullied again. Now, you're probably very confused, and honestly I am too, because I don't know how to preface this without spoiling the entire show. But was the one who started the bullying and let his friends know that, oh, the music freak duo is here. Jake only harassed them after the fact, which, you know, you could be like, oh, Jake, maybe it's just a scene in the past or any other scenes, any other times. Jake was the one who started it, and yeah, we don't have proof of that actually, so I'm just gonna believe what I see, you know, basically. So yeah, we see how Drew and Liam and Henry act when there's the music freak members just passing by. Jake does not want to go through that. That's why he is a part of that, you know. Basically, that's what I'm saying. My braces is getting stuck to my lips. Anyways, afterwards, we get to know that the music club is opening auditions for more students to join to take part in the music competition. And we also know now that Haley is the club president, and she seems like a very responsible and rational one at that, considering she considered the opinions of the club members to hold auditions for the music competition. Okay, next scene. We see Miss Jones, which is the teacher, struggle to contain the class, and she actually has to get a student to help her make the class settle down and quiet, etc. And this part of Miss Jones is sort of a concept of her. She's quite timid and soft-spoken. Don't know how she got to be a teacher, but I wouldn't say that it's unrealistic. I won't dive too deep into her since she's a side character, but this is a, sorry, my legs are too long. This is a constant, I wouldn't say gag, but like constant little meme, and it's honestly a bit infuriating that like the students don't pay attention to her, but it happens in real life too, I guess. Anyways, she announces that the music club is opening auditions, and then we see Drew and his group of friends, aside from Jake, snickering and bickering about basically just picking on the music club again, and Drew saying how embarrassing it would be for someone to perform with them. And we finally see Jake's feelings about all this drama over music, and we see that he does not think that it's embarrassing to perform itself, to perform with them, to sing, to enjoy music and have a passion in that. And he thinks that he deep down inside he actually wants to perform with them, but obviously since he he wants to look good in front of Drew. He agrees with Drew's opinions about the embarrassment of performing with the music club. And okay, but the thing is, he doesn't show his opinions. His own thoughts are drowned with Drew and Liam's and Henry's, and God knows who else's remarks and nasty comments about the club, that he himself does not show his own opinions. Why? Well, it's more obvious why after watching the whole season again. But without spoiling too much, it relates to the point that he's scared of showing his own opinions because according to the Dromies, their opinions are superior. Everyone laughed when Drew made that statement about the embarrassment and performing. And it is clearly more favored to hate on the music club and music itself than being passionate. So he's scared to show his true opinions and himself to the world because it's clearly not viewed nicely in the world of TMF. Anyways, finally, it is music video time. So we got to see Jake sing My Gaming Life, which is a great song, by the way. If you don't want to watch this, at least listen to the songs. They are so good. All the songs in here are so good. The theme song, the songs in the musical, the original songs written for the show. Rosie has impeccable taste. What can I say? Anyways, you should definitely check it out. But for this song, for now, we're going to focus on the visuals and what we see while he's singing the song. So it starts off with Jake on the rooftop, which the rooftop is a whole secondary character in itself, quite literally, honestly. But basically, he seems to go there often, not just because it's seen in later episodes, but it's also, we can also sort of assume that he goes there often because he's comfortable there so much that he starts to sing and actually sing. It's not just for the musical element, he is actually singing, which we know after he's finished singing, there's an audience. We'll get to that later. So walking around the rooftop, he sort of gives a performance to no one, like we all do when we sing in the shower. But then we cut to see his own imagination, where in the distance there's a castle and Jake seemingly transformed into a knight. More importantly, I want to focus on the enemies that he is fighting. This is, I'd say, important. I don't know how symbolic it is and how much thought Rosie put into this, but I'll assume she put this much thought, a lot of thought, into making this whole thing. There are 3 enemies, only 3, which could indicate Drew, Henry, and Liam. Why would he view his friends as enemies though? To put it simply, Drew, Henry, and Liam are against music and the music club, and they pick on it. So in Jake's perspective, he is what they are picking on and he is what they are against. So technically, he doesn't view his friends as enemies, but rather their opinions as enemies. So the enemies that we see are basically sort of shadows of Drew, Henry, and Liam's opinions on music and the music club, and them picking on it. That's why he's fighting back. He wants, in this fantasy, he is brave enough to fight back and show to the world that he is going to shine by singing and stuff. And obviously this is a stretch because I don't know how much thought Rosie did put into this, but it's interesting how she chose to put just 3 enemies instead of one big one, or multiple enemies, like a swarm of enemies. But I digress. We also, in the music video, get to see a glimpse of Jake's childhood and see more context about where he comes from and why he's like this. So basically, it shows why Jake is who he is today. We see him in school, I assume kindergarten, but it could be primary, singing in front of the class, and he seems fine. He's confident and comfortable and enjoying himself when singing. But then we see 3 different figures, his past bullies, which we don't recognize, and we still don't know who they are to this day, but they are making fun of him and his singing. Relating back to the enemy thing, it could be that those bullies from his past were the ones he is fighting in the fantasy world. So it could go both ways, for that matter. I like to think that it's Jake's own internalization of people who dislike music and singing and everything that Jake himself is passionate about. And then, let me just scroll down. Wrong button. We see the scene where Jake is. Oh. We see a scene where the Dromies are teasing and making fun of the music club. And though Jake joins in himself, he actually secretly feels guilty on picking on them since, well, he is technically one of them. He is a music freak, basically. So let's go through the lyrics a bit. Lyrics: day by day, desperate fight. My fears are waiting for me at the outside. Overwhelmed, feeling low. After starting this depressing one-man show. This sort of shows how lonely Jake is feeling in this world, and how every day he is fighting for hopefully someday he can be free from his fears and become the one he wants to be, instead of a star in a depressing one-man show. Basically, it's basically quite self-explanatory. Lyrics continue. Wish I would be able to flee, but I'm not stable. Wouldn't stand a chance, it's just too much to handle. I need an inspiration, another world I have to see. I travel with my photo station to a place of fantasy. This is where we see the fantasy scenes, and him fighting the enemies. So whatever I want to be, nothing blocks me. I'm free, gonna beat my enemies. As a king or as a knight, I will reign and I will fight until I shine in the light. So basically he's using his imagination to escape, and he just wishes so much that he wishes so much that this place of fantasy can be real and can be the reality that he's in, where he can be free with no roadblocks. After defeating all of his enemies, he can, sort of shine in the light and sing to his heart's content. Why should I stay? Please take me away from the life I don't belong. With might and with force, I'm winning the wars. No fears, here is where I'm truly strong. He just wants to live a life with friends who support his passion, with no fears of singing in front of them. And so, why is it that hard? God, this show. Anyways, we'll go back to the episode. As I said earlier when we started talking about the song, there was an audience. the audience is Daisy, the cute girl Jake has a crush on earlier, who is clapping for him on the rooftop. Obviously, Jake is embarrassed and sort of pushed into a corner and obliges to audition for the music club because of Daisy's persuasion. Honestly, it didn't take much persuasion, because Jake is sort of, well, he's known to be a simp for Daisy. He has a huge fat crush on her, and he basically almost agrees right away to join the music club. But there's still this internal conflict. If he goes on an audition and miraculously he gets accepted into the club, what will his friends think? What will the roomies think? What will happen to the bullying? Will they bully him too, or will it stop? And I honestly think that deep down, Jake sort of wishes or hopes that at that moment, that if he did get accepted to join the club, that the bullying would stop, and that this feud between the two friend groups would go to an end. Now that is quite a hot take, but I am just delusional. So another note that pushed Jake further to go ahead and audition for the club is because of what Haley had said earlier in the day, in their little bickering session, about him having no passions, or something like that. It goes along the lines of, oh, I don't remember. It's okay. Just watch the episode, okay. And Jake basically admits that he wants to prove to Haley that he has more singing ability than she does, which means it's not just Daisy pushing him to audition, it's Haley too. And it definitely feels much deeper when you've seen the whole season, and specifically after you see the JD comic episode as well. But back with the Dromies, we are introduced to new characters, Zoe and Leah, where this scene is basically just Jake making up an excuse to go audition, instead of hanging out with the club. Instead of hanging out with the Dromies, he wants to audition for the club. But here's a few stuff that I'm going to talk about, which is Leah and Jake's interaction. This is important in future episodes, as Leah is quite shamelessly flirting with Jake, and this flirting goes on throughout the whole season, until the climax, where everything falls apart in the drama between the characters. Spoilers, but everyone besides Daisy herself probably knows that Jake is into Daisy, but Leah still turns a blind eye towards that crush of Jake's, and continues to flirt with Jake, though Jake, who is kind of dumb, honestly. He's just Jake. He's just silly. Kind of turns a blind eye most of the times. Partly because he probably doesn't really understand the flirting, even though he is quite a flirtatious person, I guess. But it's kind of hard to explain her situation. Just realizing this. Anyways, that is one point for flirting. Another thing is Zoe. She'll be important later. I promise. She'll be very important later. But we see how Drew treats Zoe and pampers her by promising to take her shopping in the weekend, which further proves how rich Drew is and how probably spoiled he is. But he isn't the only one who's spoiled. His girlfriend is. there's a lot of Easter eggs in this episode that sort of scatters around and then builds up to the to make the story and the ending. And it's hard not to just ramble about the whole thing, but I'm just saying what is happening in the first episode right now. So after very amazingly convincing the Dromies that he is busy, he goes to the club to audition, where he stumbles upon the members arguing, and though he doesn't seem welcome, Haley gives him a try to sing for them and ends up allowing Jake to join the club, though Haley and Sandra are still very hesitant and wary of him because of obvious reasons. We then meet the club members: Luke the drummer, Millie the guitarist, and Sean the DJ. And obviously we have Haley and Xander. Haley is the club president and Xander is the pianist. Now, what I want to talk about that just sort of bugs me and keeps me up all night is Luke, Sean, and Millie seemingly have no idea about Jake and his bullying, though I'm pretty sure that they are wary of Jake and his bullying, and also the Dromies, Zoe and Leah, sort of picking on them as well. But it seems that they don't recognize him when he comes into audition. We can see in future episodes, mainly in episode 5, that the Dromies do pick on the whole club itself, and that they do know each other. But Luke, Sean, and Millie just sort of turns a blind eye to Jake coming into audition or something, which I think is a bit weird. It could be a plot hole, I don't know. But also another thing is Jake being the only one to not know about Luke and Xander's relationship. Now this is very spoilery, but I'll talk about it here. The whole of the Dromies know about Luke and Xander's relationship, and it makes me question, why doesn't Jake know about it? It could be either that he is very stupid, or after Jake found out himself, he told the Dromies about it, which I doubt. I really do doubt that he would do that. So it could also just be a plot hole, because it just does not make sense in my head. But those who are the main ones that actively keep me awake at night. So yeah. And anyways, Jake joins the club and we end the episode there. Woohoo! With Jake being the new singer of the club, Xander and Haley is still wary about him and doesn't trust him, while the rest of the club are quite welcoming. And I want to point out something that is always sitting in my mind. Okay. Now this is also a bit of a hot take, I guess. So Jake was the only one to audition, as we know when Sean said, "Finally, someone here is here to audition," or something along those lines. We know that Jake is the first to audition, and no one else auditions afterwards, or at least not to our knowledge. Obviously, there could be a chance that someone else auditioned, but it didn't make the cut. Obviously, there's a chance that someone else auditioned and didn't make the cut of being in the club, but I really doubt that. Because honestly, if someone else outside of Drew's friend group came to audition, Haley would quite likely go ahead and let them in the club as long as they have passion for music and the club itself. So to put it simply, no one else other than Jake auditioned for the club, which means if Jake didn't get that push from Daisy to go audition, no one would have auditioned, and it pains me. It actually does pain me. And to think about it, and especially like maybe like in a different universe of the Music Freaks of TMF, no one would have auditioned for the club, and we wouldn't have this. Okay, I wrote down a theory for season 2. So remember when Drew said how embarrassing it would be for someone to perform with the music club members? Yeah. Imagine if that mindset was so implanted in the whole school that no one auditioned initially. But in season 2, after we see the performance that the music club puts out in the finale, spoilers, some other students actually actively go and audition after watching their performance, and I think that would be kind of cool. Obviously season 2 is not out yet, so I don't know. So episode 2, we talk more about the club and their trust issues, which funnily enough is the title of the episode, Trust Issues. Anyways, Jake has officially joined the music club, but the conflict is already rising. Xander cannot forgive Jake for his past actions and refuses to rehearse with him. Will Jake be able to show Xander that he's taking the competition seriously? And what will Jake's friends think of him becoming a music freak? If I'm honest, this episode, was the least memorable for me. It's not really filler, but it feels kind of like filler. It feels close to filler, but I wouldn't say it is, because without it, we wouldn't really have the rest of the season. But it does not change the fact that it's the least memorable of the episodes out of all 11 episodes. So Jake reveals to his friends that he ditched them. That he ditched them the previous day in the previous episode to join the music club. And he explains that his plan is to ask Daisy out while performing at the competition. To Drew genuinely sees performing with the music club embarrassing, and he keeps reiterating that. And he even says that he didn't have to embarrass himself to get Zoe to like him. Which Liam and Henry then think about how Zoe is just a gold digger and that Drew is loaded, which is also sort of hint for future episodes. But we'll focus on Drew for now. He genuinely thinks it's embarrassing to perform on stage with the music club members doing music stuff, and he is just very anti-music and very disgusted by the thought of it, which is honestly kind of sad. I cannot imagine my life without music, but you do use, Drew. Whatever keeps your boat afloat, I guess. Anyways, Jake comes in late to practice, and obviously Xander, who doesn't trust him yet, is furious and won't work with him to rehearse because he thinks Jake won't take it seriously. And honestly, if I was Xander, I would be him too. I would be petty too, because you can't just join your enemy friend group you've been bullying and expect them to welcome you with open arms. You can't do that. Xander confronts Jake, saying that he is just here for the heck of it, but Jake just confesses he does have a passion for music and loves singing. But Xander comes back asking why has he talked down and picked on them for so long. And obviously, after knowing Jake's backstory, it's a deep wound to pick at, and Jake worked hard to cover up and bandage that wound and seal it away for no one else after experiencing the bullying in previous in the past. Okay, sorry about that. Technical difficulties. Anyways, where was I? Right. Jake's past of being bullied led to him being a bully. Because he does not want to be alone and be bullied again. But Jake couldn't really open up to them, not yet. Because just like how Xander doesn't really trust Jake, Jake isn't really close to them to really talk about it openly. It's also a really hard story to tell. So we then get to see Xander sing. He sings the song called Chasing, which is honestly on the last of my list of TMF songs if I rank them. Not because the song is bad, but it's just not my type of style personally for me, because personally I like songs that I can sing to. Okay, those are usually the songs that I listen to the most, and Chasing is a hard song for me to sing. So that's why personally it's the lowest, and that's also why this episode and song is least memorable. But we get to see Xander sing. Now it is known that other than Jake and Haley, when they actually sing and perform, no one else can sing. The songs in the show are just there for the audiences to get a feel for the emotions of the characters and be more immersed in it, as well as add to the musical element. So basically, Xander, Sean, Millie, Luke, they can't sing, but they have songs in the show just to add to the musical of the series. But also the visuals of the music videos does give us hints, Easter eggs, and backstory for us to really understand the character. Except for Chasing though. Chasing really does not give us much, I'll be honest. So I'm not going to analyze the song because there's really not much. It could be that I'm stupid, but the song is generally just to convey Xander's feelings and his distrust to Jake. But here's another little gag, I guess. Jake asks Haley for advice to gain Xander's trust since he's her boyfriend. But then we find out that Xander is not Haley's boyfriend. He's her stepbrother, and that Xander is also gay. Which leads back to the plot hole about Xander not knowing anything about Jake not knowing anything about Xander and Haley. When the Dromies supposedly know. So the Dromies definitely know that Xander and Haley are siblings. But why doesn't Jake know? Why? I don't know. It could just be to help us understand the story better and to really tell us what their relationship is, but it seems like a plot hole to me, I'll be honest. And this is not shitting on the show. I love the show, but every good show has plot holes. So anyways, afterwards, Luke, who is Xander's childhood friend, comes to see Jake and asks him to talk. He basically threatens Jake that if he crosses Xander or Haley or anyone for that matter, that there will be consequences to his actions. And he also asks Jake to go easy on Xander too, especially after Jake's constant picking on them and his bullying. Oh, and I know what you're saying. Yes, Luke does have a crush on Xander. Anyways, Daisy then suggests to Jake that to earn that trust, maybe to try promoting the music club and the music competition to the whole school so more people will know about it. And this is also another little plot hole, I guess, something that I don't understand. Daisy should know that Jake and the Jomies are bullying the music club members, and she doesn't do anything about it. We know from episode 1 that she is head girl. But couldn't she report to them, to the teachers or something, to the school? Not that reporting the bullying would stop the bullying in the school, since I don't think school worked that way. But it's kind of confusing to me that Daisy is okay with it and still hangs out with bullies, you know? I mean, she doesn't really hang out, but she greets them, which you could say she just greets Jake, which is true, but like, okay, I'm gonna talk about this in a different episode because this is getting too spoilery. Anyways, Jake then asked Zoe and Leah to promote to the school about the music competition, and sure enough, it worked. A lot of people started coming to the music club to look at their progress, play on the equipment, much to Xander's annoyance. But also, they came to support Jake, and honestly, they just came for Jake. Only slightly for the music club, because Jake is basically the reason they are swarmed in the music room. And they practically is just there for Jake's charm, but anyways. And though they are still generally on rocky terms, Xander and Jake has made peace for now. So, yeah, that's it. That's basically the episode 2, which episode 2's analysis / deep dive, I guess, is definitely much shorter than episode 1, because, as I said, it's kind of filler, kind of not filler. I mean, it's more Easter eggs, I guess, and hints towards future episodes. So I wouldn't say it's not important. Without it, the series can't go forward. But we are going to jump all the way to the Jaylee comic, because I didn't mention about it at the start. So the Jaylee comic is basically about Jake and Haley's first interaction in high school, and how Haley earned the nickname Princess. Back when high school first started for them, Haley is searching for her songbook, where she struggles to find it. Unfortunately for her, Jake had taken it, but Jake soon returns it to her during class, where they have a sweet moment of Jake actually showing some interest in music. But when Haley glances back to the songbook, she realizes that her younger half-sister, Bethany, we meet her officially in episode 6, but spoilers, I guess. She has stuck princess stickers on the cover of her notebook, and though Jake didn't mention any of it until Haley, Jake didn't really seem to mind that there's princess stickers on it. It wasn't until Haley decides to recruit Jake for the music club that Drew, and since Jake was with Drew and the Droomies, he sort of started picking on Haley because of Drew's existence and there, which officially opens up his new life as a bully, and this, which is also how Haley earned the nickname Princess, is because of Jake being pressured to bully Haley, technically. So in that blushing scene, we now can view it as Haley being embarrassed about that situation. Why? Well, it's quite embarrassing, okay? If I was her, I would blush too, not because of a crush, which people used to think it was, because because of future episodes and also Jaylee, and because this episode didn't exist back then. But with this, we now have context to what happened, and it sort of makes more sense why she would blush. Okay, it is important to note here that Jake is under a lot of pressure that at that moment, going between a friend group which he just met since he just got into high school, and now someone who actually wants to listen to his passion. Now you could be asking, why did Jake ditch the Jomies and join Haley in the music club? Well, we see more of the why in episode 9, but in short, Jake was always bullied and always alone throughout his school years up until that point when he first started high school, and he never believed anyone would want to be friends with him. It's generally like, it's really written inside his mind, no one wants to be friends with him, he is a freak, etc. Until Drew calls him over to be his friend, and since he's the first person to actively ask Jake to be his friend, he sort of formed an attachment to Drew immediately, and because of that, he's scared he will lose that that friendship if he joined the music club. And in the end of the bullying, we see Jake feels terribly guilty for not only rejecting Haley's offer, but also humiliating her, which obviously will become the norm of him bullying and feeling bad about it. But he continues to bully because that's the route he set for himself, and he just have to go on that road because he does not want Drew, his new friend, to suspect him of anything. He just wants to fit in with the norm of Drew's world, I guess. And then in the end of that episode, it ends with Jake and Haley after the events of episode 11, aka the finale, where Jake receives his own princess songbook to write songs in. So this episode is more flashback and insight on their past interaction, and it helps us to better understand where both of them come from. I really do think that because of that interaction between Jake and Haley, and when he first returned the songbook to Haley, that Haley sort of thought back when he auditioned to the club, she thought back to that moment, and it really pushed her to allow Haley to ultimately make the decision to accept him into the club. But we probably will get more talk about this in season 2. But anyways, I will leave this here for now today. It's been over an hour. I've been talking non-stop. And honestly, I don't even know if it was coherent or not. I just yapped. But it's been fun. Let's hope I don't abandon this podcast